Good morning, everybody. So I briefly introduce myself because I think it's important for you to know where is coming. What I'm going to say today is coming from daily experience. So briefly, I spent a couple of years doing research at university after my degree in biology. Then I moved pretty quickly to industry, and so I covered different roles, both in multinational companies, mostly in international marketing, and small biotech companies as well. Since 2008, it's already a long time ago, I work as business development for a regional life science cluster and science park here in Tuscany, which is called TLS, Toscana Life Sciences. What we do, basically we manage a business incubator, which means that we create all the favorable environment for new startup in the biotech, but it actually is not only biotech, but whatever is related to health. So ranging from medical devices to diagnostics, the classical pharma products, digital health, nutraceutical. So whatever has an impact on human health is under our range of activities. Very quickly, just to give you an idea, so we started in 2007 and we have been able to attract so far more than 211 million in investments. We host something like 47 startup spin-offs and research groups. And so starting from zero, we now have 400 employees working around here, with a clear impact on the local economy, as you can imagine. So in briefly, I think that we can say that TLS has been the fastest growing life science incubator in Italy in the last few years. So I'm pretty proud of being part of this team. We also developed some internal research very recently on microbial resistance, and for some reasons that is too long to explain today, we are also involved in the development of the monoclonal antibodies for SARS-CoV-2 in these days, directly involved. So this is me, just to tell you that as Milena, my daily work is to try to make this translation from research to industry development, as most of the people working in science parks and incubators. So my task today is to open the floor to more technical presentation. Therefore, I will rapidly touch on some key concepts, not going into details, trying to really engage you in this new language, as it was already said. So my presentation will follow this rationale. You can see the screen, yeah, it's okay. So briefly, in order to translate your research into real benefit for people, you need to transfer it to industry, because it's the only way to scale up a new product or a new service and to distribute it worldwide. To attract the industry, you need to bring your technology to advanced development. And this means that, for instance, just to make the example of a classical pharmaceutical product, you need to get to phase 1, phase 2 clinical trial level of development. and the same you can say for other products. To advance your technology development, you need, of course, additional investment, tools, competencies. So in other words, you need money. To get the money, you will need to engage with public, private, corporate investor, which are living on another planet, and you have to reach them. Communicating with them is something not easy. Recently, the open innovation paradigm is going in a way to facilitate this. And at the end, talking to these people means to learn a completely different language. So I will not repeat what has been said already. So I normally start this presentation showing one slide, which is the most complicated of all the rest. So don't worry, the other will be easier. So let's start from knowledge management. So which starts from know-how. Know-how is basically the concentration of knowledge on a specific field, which let's say a research group sitting in a public research institution at university is able to create. This knowledge, the first use of it is to share this knowledge. Of course, you do it to talk to other people and to increase human being knowledge. What happens if you realize to develop a new technology? This normally goes to publication. So you want to make it public in peer-reviewed journals, maybe just to share it with your scientific community. And so we stay still in the knowledge sharing area, which is very good for the scientific pathway. So to increase your know-how and the scientific credibility of yourself as a researcher or your research group. What happens if the new technology instead goes to another direction? So which is still a knowledge sharing exercise. So the patent, you probably have been already exposed to this, and I'm sure that even after me, this topic will be touched in more details because it's critical, no? So publication versus the patent application. I say it now, but probably you already heard it, and you will hear it even more times. Before go for the publication, start thinking to have a patent first. Because if you go for publication first, then you can't go back to patent this new technology. And I stop here because this could be the start of a very long, a very long story. So once you start thinking to make a patent out of your new ideas, new research activities, you are still going to publish it, because the patent, probably you know, it's a way to make public your results, your new technology. The only difference with the big difference with publication is that you will have the rights of deployment of this new technology for a certain period in a certain geographic area, and this helps you to have a value in your hands, the first possible value of the results of your research. Making a patent is not yet enough, and this is why I stress the point of the solution. So the real difference is not exactly the patent itself, but if the patent, the new technology that you are applying for a patent is giving a solution to an unmet need. And how you do this, we will see a little bit more later how you can understand this. But it's very important to do it even before applying for a patent. And in this area, technology transfers offices of the universities, agencies can take an important part in the flow. So once you have a patent and these new technology, you have covered with a patent your new technology, and this new technology is able to give a solution to an unmet medical need in this case, then you can start thinking about technology transfer. I will give you a brief definition of this, but it's basically the process that can transfer your new technology to someone that is able to develop it further. And this is typically what happens in the university, facilitated by technology transfer office. And this transfer can go either to another company or to other subjects with a system. I mean, with a process that is with a tool, let's say, that is licensing. You probably heard about this word already. So it's the way to make technology transfer happen. So, but I will tell you a little bit more later. So this is the first thing that can happen. And sometimes once you have licensed your technology to another company, this through a technology transfer process, this can lead to a new company, may or may not lead to a new company. If you transfer to already to a company that is able to take it on the market, you don't need to create a new company. But sometimes they do spin-off companies to do it, or you can go straight forward from the technology transfer to a new startup when I mean, the new technology is so strong that is able to attract investment from the beginning and able to generate a new company straightforward. So this is the general picture of what can happen when you have a new idea, a new technology coming up. And so what we are trying I will try to start up with you is the discussion about communication in this part of the slide. So how to get from this pathway to this other one. Okay. So what is technology transfer? You can find many different definitions in the internet or wherever. And but basically is the process of sharing your knowledge, your new technology, to ensure that scientific and technological development are accessible to a wider range of users, and especially to someone that can further develop and exploit the technology. So in a very short way, technology transfer is the process of taking an invention from its inception to a laboratory or from a laboratory to a commercialized product. The other strange word probably for you is licensing. So licensing, as I said before, is the instrument to make technology transfer happen. So it is what typically happens from when a new technology is invented at university. You have to transfer it to a company, let's say, just to make an example. The typical tool is a licensing agreement, which means issuing temporary access to your intellectual property rights to someone else that is able to take it over and complete the development up to the market. This is done for a fee or a royalty from the licensor to the licensee. The licensor is the generating is the one generating the new technology. The licensee is the one that is taking over the license. If you go further in this discussion, you will get across these new names probably for you. Okay, so what are the values of technology transfer? I mean, there are many. First of all, the institute image and reputation. The more agreements or licensing agreements you are able to do, the more you increase the reputation of your research group. Of course, you create public benefit. And I think it's the most important thing, you solve real world problems. You attract creative researchers. You increase local development, local economy. You build closer collaboration with industry, and you have access to R&D resources and partnership. And at the end of the day, you create new jobs at the end. So it's a real value for the society, the technology transfer, which doesn't happen if the new technologies remains inside the university, as it is not transferred to anyone. So what are the objectives? It's now clear, I think. So it's the valorization of R&D results and intellectual asset, increase accessibility of technology development to a wider range of users, the development and exploitation of new products, new services and application, and increase of competitiveness. The ways are typically from academia to, which is the technology donor, to industry, which is the technology receiver. This is real an example, because the technology transfer can happen even between industries and between countries, but I don't want to go into these details. So just to simplify the example. So once you are thinking to do this, so to make technology transfer happen, you have some communication target. Also in this case, this is just a simplification. So so you can go first of all also in terms of timing for public grants, business angels, early investors and collaboration, venture capital and companies, just to make groups out of it. So the first entry point, let's say, is the public grant, which is more affordable for early stage technologies and ideas. But bear in mind that the trend these days towards this grants financing is anyway collaborative research involving networks with industry. So nevertheless, even if you go for a public grant, you will need to communicate your science to industry and to involve industry from the beginning. I have to go fast, so I'm sorry if there are questions, please ask. So this slide just simplifies the typical growing path of a startup. Just to make an example, you go from pre-seed to seed to startup, early growth and expansion. This is what the way of the development of a new company. Of course, at the beginning, the pre-seed and seed is even before the creation of a new company. You need to rely on, as I said, on maybe angel investors or grants. Then you create the company if there is a real value behind your technology, and you start the so-called startup period, which is actually 3 years. Normally, this is the definition of a startup period. Sometimes this word is misused because you continue to call startup companies that are not anymore startups, because after 3 years, technically they are not anymore a startup. And in this case, you start to attract venture capital and private equity grants. And then, I mean, this is a very far away story from research, actually. Then for early growth and expansion, you can then call into play IPOs, VC funding, banks, and so on. Just to tell you, depending on the level of development of your idea, the people you have to talk to. The flow, as I said, is typically from there is on the market, there is a push and pull process. So the technology push from research side and the market pull from industry side. Of course, you are not alone. It's almost impossible for a scientist sitting in a university to do this journey alone. So they will need technology brokers. Typically, in the universities, as I said already, you have technology transfer offices, which are the people that can help you doing that. Or you may ask to other people to help you in this. I mean, this is just to tell you, I will not go through this how technology transfer process is not as easy as you can imagine, but basically this sums up all the path. So the idea, so the first decision is you have first to think to a patent or to a secret, and only as a third choice for publication. And then you can go for indirect exploitation, and so licensing, as I said, or direct exploitation. And then you go for a startup or a spin-off company. What should happen in universities? Basically, as I said, so the initial discovery should be shared with your colleagues at technology transfer offices. They should start an analysis, a deep analysis, and also a market and market forecast. And so this is the point where I said you have to find out whether your technology has a solution for an unmet need or not. This is a very critical part of it. Then they should issue an exploitation plan, and not only after this analysis go for patent protection. And after patent protection, you can start thinking about technology transfer, business plan, licensing, and so on. Few words about the innovation process, and I think that I already used much of my time. So I have used this slide. I'm taken this slide from another presentation of our national cluster on life science. So what was the situation before open innovation, which I will tell you later? Basically, this is the example of pharmaceutical industry. In the past years, it was, I mean, this is very clear to people working in this field. There was an innovation gap. So regardless the investment in money that you could make at the beginning of the R&D of a new technology, you didn't have the same amount of new products going to the market, to make a very long story short. And how this is going to change a little bit. So in the last few years, this is going to, the gap is slowly covered. Because we are living actually in these days in it's already, I mean, some years that it's going on, this revolution, let's say. So this was what happened before. The traditional innovation process was a very closed process from research to development to early manufacturing and the involvement of industry was used to come only at that point. With the open innovation is a new paradigm. So industry is involved from the beginning. You have a pretty complicated process. No, there is some question or no, I hear some voices. Okay. So this is what is going on today. So we are moving from closed traditional research innovation process to the open innovation. In brief, because I don't have time to go into many details, as I said, the paradigm change is from closed innovation model, which brought to the innovation gap that we have seen before, to an open innovation model, where basically the most important difference is the place where innovation happened. Before it was the innovation was happening inside a company in a very closed system. The open innovation model instead opens the ideas to other players and can come from outside, and it's a real open system. So what are the consequences of this revolution? Basically, there is a new trend. Companies are developing these open innovation approaches to R&D, combining in-house and external resources. In most of the, just to make an example, most of the big players in the pharmaceutical field, you have now, since some years already, professional figures that are doing external research. So they are trying to search in public research new ideas to take on board, and what the impact on the academic community is that the university is taking a more proactive role, and they are treating industry and market as a potential funding sources instead of a devil, you know, which was some time ago. So with open innovation, yeah, I want to make an example of this open innovation in reality. So you have no more a linear development. There is a push to externalize research. The companies are looking into early stage pipelines in the small biotechs and expand the traditional partners in new markets. We have in front of us two examples in these days. So everybody's talking about this. No, the solution to the pandemic is actually coming not from big players, but from small biotechs that were actually, in a way or in another, then in the case of BioNTech, taken over by a big pharma, or in the case of Moderna, they developed themselves with a big amount of investment from public money. But just to tell you that the most important solution for the people in these days is coming from small biotechs and not big pharma, due to this process that I said before. So in terms of communication tools, and I'm going to the end of my presentation, just to make a very long story short, you have two different tools at the beginning. One is the elevator pitch, and then the other one can be the business plan. We normally use this, and I will of course not go through the details of this, but just to tell you how should be prepared an investor pitch is actually something that is studied with a lot of attention, because it's the first way you have to attract investors to your ideas. And there are courses, and this only topic can take weeks of training, but just to tell you what, just to give you the idea. And the second one is the business plan. So I mentioned these two because these are actually the two communication tools when you have to talk to an investor. They cannot stand to your scientific presentation as you would do in the scientific community. You have to tell them the story in a different way. And there are very standardized ways to do that. So one is the investor pitch, and the following one is the business plan, which is actually coming up a little bit later, because the business plan, of course, is a very complicated document that investors will ask you when you are further in development, in negotiation with them. So just to mention these two, and then I would like to share with you some hints that come out from my daily experience. We of course have to face this communication gap between these very different words.
Francesco, if I may take your time, because this is very interesting. So don't worry, I have an agreement with Arianna, so don't worry, take your time, because this part is very, very, very interesting. So thank you.
Okay, so I'm always afraid to go too long, so I am always in rush. So thank you for that. So basically, this is the communication gap. So just to make some examples, so many times I've been listening to a scientific presentation where, of course, the scientist, the one that had the new idea, the new technology, is very proactive in talking about his disruptive technology. They would like, instead, when the investor on the other side wants to know something different. So in a way, is less interested in the technology and more in other things. So just to make some examples, as I said, you talk about technology, they would like to know, they are trying to understand the probability of success of your new technology. When do we get to a prototype? So at what level of development are you? This is more important for them than other things. You talk about immense medical needs. So if you just go to oncology, immunology, metabolism, CNS, I mean, you just go to the internet and find immense numbers of medical need. They instead want to know what is going to be your part of this big game. So, and this is a difficult exercise that you will have to face to do. Another example, you are proud of your publication list, which is very important, of course. Just to make an example, I've been involved in many advisory boards for business plan review. Sometimes you receive business plan with 50 pages and other 50 pages of publication list, which is normal for a scientist to do. Is completely useless for an investor. They are maybe looking more for patents and your experience in collaborating with industry. So if you have previous experiences in collaborating with industry, is much more a value with respect to your scientific credibility. So then you keep saying the last point is very interesting, I think, because almost 80% of the cases I see scientists saying that, at the end of presentation, we are the only one in the world studying this new technology, which is most of the cases not true. Because even if you are on a disruptive new technology, in terms of marketing and market forecast, you still have competitors outside, and you always have competitors outside, and you so you have to study this part of the story very well from the beginning. So this just to give some examples of the different mindset that basically have the scientist versus the investor. So in terms of if I can give some suggestions, but of course it will depend very much on the different cases. So, but generally speaking, you need to know your counterpart in advance and adapt your message. Sometimes, just to make an example, if you are talking to a company, not to an investor, if you are talking to a company, you may talk to the R&D people or to the business people, just to make it simple. If you are presenting to the science, I mean, to the research and development people, you can go a little bit more on the technology and on the science behind your technology. If you're talking to the finance people, you have to go to results, timing, milestones, and these other kind of things. You should be prepared for objections and highlight your strengths in a very simple way and very synthetic way. You have to show that you have a backup strategy. So what happens if I go to this, if I reach this go no go decision in my development process and I come across a no, I have to understand, I have to be prepared to a second and backup strategy. Then timing is crucial in many ways. So investors are always busy. They are pushed by many requests. So you have to be very short and very straightforward, both when you are talking and when you are writing. So also documents should be very easy to read and very short. So then you have to show your personal engagement, which is probably the most important thing, because sometimes the investor doesn't look so much to technology or science, but more on the person they have in front. So if they see an entrepreneur in front of them, this makes the difference. And to be an entrepreneur, a future entrepreneur, you have to show really a strong commitment. So if you go there and you just say, so, okay, this is my new technology, I hope that. No, you have to be very convinced that you will bring it to the market, you will do it up to the end. Then the last 2 points, you have to demonstrate that you know your limits. And when I say that, is because typically, especially a group leader, so let's say an excellent scientist, is always presenting himself as the one that can do everything, from marketing to business development to research to communication maybe, and this is wrong. So they have to show that they will put their competencies in the right way, and if they have some competence gaps, they will fill in with other people doing that maybe. And then the last point, which is unfortunately sometimes not possible now with the pandemic ongoing, is the personal approach. So it's very important to meet physically with them, because as I said before, they want to see you in your eyes is the eyes of tiger, I can say. So that you are really keen to go up to the end of the story. Then, in summary, you have to make this to learn this new language. So to focus on communication and how to communicate your science. And what I said until now is probably scaring, because you're doing your job, which is research, and you cannot think to all these other things. For this reason, there are people that can help you. So first of all, as I said, technology transfer offices of the university, but there are technology brokers around, specialized agencies, science and technology park, business incubators, as we are, and the new approach. This is the innovation ecosystems like cluster organization, which is a much larger definition of what used to be a technology park and science park. So places where you go, you just put your science and your competencies available to the right environment, and then people will help you with doing the rest. And so specifically what you can find in a science and technology park or business incubators and so on. These people, as we are between research and industrial development. So we are exactly the people that are mediating from these two different worlds, from research to industrial development. You have business incubators, so places where you can really think about your research, and all the rest will be taken care by professional people. You have the physical interaction as an added value, so you will stay in an environment where on the other door you have other people like you that are facing the same process and the same problems, and you can share your information both from a scientific side and for logistic and technical side. There is this direct knowledge exchange and sharing with academy. Most of the science park and business incubator are linked to a local university or foundations or whatever that can and they can facilitate this continuous exchange. Most importantly, you have shared technology facilities. So if you need a mass spectrometry technology or NMR technology, you don't have to buy it. You can just have access to these very expensive technologies at the beginning for the time you use it. So which is much more different than investing a lot of money from the beginning. And then you have access to a larger strategic network, which it's a point in terms of communication that I would like to stress, because networking is another keyword in this world of technology transfer, let's say, or valorization of research results, which is really key. So you have to have today, it is not enough a local network or a national network. You have to have an international network from the beginning. And if you don't have your own network already in place, if you go to a technology park, you can, I think that the most important added value of a science and technology park is probably this one. So you get in touch with people all over the world that are doing the same job that you are doing. This is a nice cartoon. So the cluster role is SMEs gardening. So you have people taking care of your new idea. And then this is I have the last two slides. What you should do when the package is ready. So when you have done your homework, you have prepared your science, you have packed it in a proper way with a well prepared elevator pitch, maybe, or even a small business plan, which is something that the investor can understand, you know. Then you need networking, as I was just saying, and this is what going in a business incubator or in a science and technology park you will get. And this is my last slide. So basically, you probably already know, but there are around the world partnering and brokerage events that are exactly made for this. So these are places, we call them marketplaces, but forget about the word market if it is strange to you, but it's basically where people demanding your science and your technologies are meeting with people offering these technologies. And basically what we people like me that are helping as business development, these new ideas coming up, this is the way for us from professional people to get in touch with companies, investors, VCs, and so on that will take your technology over. And then I go to the conclusions. Just to wrap up, so take home messages, and then I stop talking and I'm ready for questions. In order to translate your research into real benefit, you need to transfer it to industry. And I wanted to make the sample of today. With the pandemic, if you don't have, we have learned that you first of all had to rely on small biotechs like BioNTech, Moderna, and so on, to have the product ready. It is not enough, because then you face the problem of production capacity, and only the industry can give you enough. And in this case, they are not enough because they have to cover the whole world. But most of the cases, the production capacity is the limit that makes you that oblige you to go for industry. So technology transfer is mandatory if you want to reach the real benefit for people. Then this journey, especially for someone starting from science, is not easy, and you cannot make it alone. So you have people that can help you, and we have just seen who they are. And especially in healthcare, you have to think global from the beginning. So as you know, as scientists, you know that publications are worldwide, and from there you start immediately with a worldwide competition. And then the last point, networking and communication are as important as your science. And again, for all of these, you have professional people that can help you. And this is my last slide, and I stop here, and I hope that I was not so long, and I'm ready for questions.
Oh, thank you, Francesco. Don't worry, because I think that I tell from also for my colleagues and also the people attending, it was very, very interesting. In the chat, there is a question already. So from Ines. Are you able to read it? Otherwise, I can read for you. Otherwise, okay, Ines, can you make the question directly? Don't worry.
So great presentation. I have a question regarding, is there any training in Europe or maybe online that is more extensive that you would recommend on working with industry, understanding more deeper their language and the collaboration? I have attended one of these trainings organized by Israel Innovation Institute, and it was really excellent one and eye-opening in the sense of different ways of the communication with them and how it functions. So maybe there is something in Europe or online that it's possible to attend.
Okay, so no, this is a very good question. Actually, there are plenty of those courses. If you I've been through many of them. For instance, in Italy, many universities are used to organize these kind of things. I personally joined different academic courses to add this part related to the so-called, business part of the story. I will search for some courses that are around in English, of course, and I will then come back to you, because they don't come up to my mind immediately, but many organizations are used to do that.
If I may, just to complement this, the first things to do, as also Francesco mentioned a few times, is go to your technology transfer office, because they know about a lot of things. You will see some details also in the next presentations, but they are also aware about the opportunity about learning at universities, in your university or your institution. It's happened always that in a big institution like universities or research institutes, there are some misleading in communication. So you need to go directly to this office, to the people, and ask for this. This is my suggestion. Any other question, guys?
Yes, I have one question. It's regarding the marketplaces you mentioned in your slide. Which one would you recommend for Europeans and life science? The one you mentioned in Italy, for example?
Oh yes, I mean we are very used to that. So unfortunately, most of those events are going digital or hybrid due to the pandemic, but they used to be all physical events and very useful events. Bio Europe for let's say because it's moving every year around Europe. It's very interesting. It's more importantly is I mean you really find them everybody, every company and so on. And for Italy is Meet Italy for Life Sciences, which is the only one brokerage event in life science, which is an international one. So it's done in English, and we attract people from all over the world there. And instead of doing in Italy, we have organized this kind of concentrated event. As TLS and myself, I'm part of the organization, so I can tell you more. But basically, we decided not to go for different small events around Italy, but just concentrate on one that is also more affordable for people coming from abroad. So in one shot, I mean, 2-3 days is also the participation is for free. You can come over Italy and see all the people working in healthcare, from research to investment people and companies and so on. But basically, the ones that I have put on the slide that are basically all over the world, except for probably Latin America, but Asia, China, Japan, and Europe, of course, and US. I've put on the slide the most important ones for which are very useful for that, for the also for early stage projects.
Can I add a question to that? So in these brokering events, do you recommend that the scientist goes, let's say, alone? Do you think it should be, you know, going hand by hand with someone like you who can, because it's true that the scientist can prepare his own pitch and, you know, whatever, but it's also about chatting there, and scientists like to talk a lot, and so they might say things that they don't really should say. So what is your advice with that?
So my advice is very clear, because I mean we really face this every day. So basically we push in all the possible ways the scientists to come over with us, because I personally have been doing both things, going alone with the technology coming from a science group, which is good, but not as good as the real scientist being there explaining in details, maybe is technology. The scientists alone and the couple, let's say that the couple is the best. So basically, this is what we try to do. So with many tools and financing tools coming from national, we have the Italian Trade Commission helping with the physical participation to these events. We try to facilitate this so that and this is, for instance, what I do for my companies. I go to these meetings sometimes alone, but trying to take the scientists with me, because this would be really perfect. And of course, there is the exception where you have scientists so good that maybe they are not at their first trial, but they have, I mean, serial entrepreneurs that are both scientists and business oriented. But most of the case, I mean, my suggestion is to go together. This would be the best.
Milena, do I have possibility of making more questions, or we are We're running out of time.
Arianna, what do you think?
We can do just one more. I think it's okay.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
I choose and choose the most urgent one. So basically, in this cost action, we work on delivery of therapeutics for rare diseases, also for non-rare diseases, but many of us work on rare diseases. And so there is the technological part, which is, of course, delivering medicines, which is of course of interest for many, but there is the point of the rare disease, and it's kind of frustrating very often that you have a nice idea and solution for an unmet medical need, but the numbers, so when you present an investor with the numbers, they say, oh, but that's too little. It's too little patients overall in the world. So what is your advice for scientists who work on rare diseases? Just go public, publish, and do not even dream of patenting anything? Or
no, I think that the story is the same, and we have had a very, I think, the stronger lessons ever. Again, the one on pandemic and biotech, and so the mRNA technology until a couple of years ago was a kind of niche market, or comparable to a rare disease market range. And now, so biotech was turnover 2 years ago was a few $1 million. Now is $1 billion. So my suggestion is to and also in the past we had examples of rare disease becoming important markets, and companies built on rare disease technologies. So I wouldn't give up and keep on following the rules. So trying to get a patent, trying to get maybe at the beginning there are plenty of grants for rare disease. You have fast track to registration process. So don't feel frustrated, because even more in this period where precision medicine is taking over, orphan diseases are becoming more and more important anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Francesco.